Well, thank you so much. We've been very excited and looking forward to this, and I'm especially pleased today because my son-in-law and daughter, who live in North Palm Beach, are here with my 5-year-old granddaughter. And of course, I'm obligated to spoil her. It's in the fine print. I think it's in the Old Testament, supposed to spoil your grandchildren. So I'm so glad to see Alice here. She's wearing her banjo shirt today. Let me introduce these folks. I'll start with our parole officer on the left down here, Margaret Martin from Raleigh, North Carolina. Next to her is a gentleman I used to listen to when I was just a little kid. I'd go to his house when I was just a chap.
Yeah, we had to stand him in the corner for life.
I'm going to get to politics next. Okay. This is Darren Moore from Chatham, Virginia. And next to him is Wayne Martin, husband with Margaret there, and he's from Raleigh, North Carolina. And I was a roar before I married. I don't roar anymore. My name is Kenny Roar from Danville, Virginia, where the old 97 went down. And we play old-time music, and if you think about it, what did Bill Monroe and Ralph Stanley and Les Flatt and Earl Scruggs and Don Reno and those pioneers of bluegrass music, what did they listen to growing up? They listened to old-time music, exactly. They didn't listen to bluegrass because bluegrass didn't exist. So they listened to the Carter family, Jimmy Rogers, Fiddlin' John Carson, and the great old-time music that preceded them that bluegrass really evolved out of over the years. And when I was just a kid, my dad played old-time fiddle, my brother played guitar, so I had to learn to play banjo in self-defense. I would have been put out in the street. And of course, banjo players have a bad reputation, as you know. In fact, I heard on the radio this afternoon, a bulletin on the way over here, that a group of terrorists had seized an entire busload of banjo players, and they were threatening to release one every hour unless their demands were met. So you might want to think about that. We're going to play some old-time music for you, and we'll start off with a dance number called Ragtime Annie. Much of this music was for dancing in people's homes. So people would, particularly in the mill villages, so where I grew up, they would move the furniture out of the front room of the mill houses, out of the front rooms, put the musicians in a hallway, and they'd usually sprinkle something down on the floor to get traction for the dancers, maybe cornmeal or something like that. And then people would dance in both rooms while the musicians sat in the hallway in the mill house and played for them. So much of this music is rooted in old-time dance music. And if any of you are old-time dancers and want to dance, we probably got a corner there you can get in there. We'll kick off with a little bit of Ragtime Annie. It's an old-time dance number. All right, let's go. is. I don't know if she did or not.
Give her another
Here,
chance.
I'll give her another chance. So much of old time music is full of boy meets girl, boy murders girl. And a lot of them are really old English ballads, like the Knoxville Girl, which goes back to the 1690s, 1692 in England when it first appeared in print under a different name, but it's the same song. So this has been going on a long time. It's nothing new. Too, by the way, all this is going to be on the test, so I hope you're taking good notes. I do ask for dates. Even though they get between my teeth, I still like dates. But we're going to do one of those boy meets girl, boy murders girl, called Tom Dooley, or Tom Dula was his real name, and people call it Dooley around Wilkes County, North Carolina, where he's from, up in the mountains. It's kind of like okra and okrie. You ever heard okra called okrie? You know, that kind of thing. Well, that's the kind of thing you found around home as well. So it was Tom Dula was his name, but it's called Tom Dooley. So you're going to tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah. Well, it happened in North Carolina, and up in the area, if you've ever been towards Blowing Rock, North Carolina, you know that the Yadkin River drops off the mountain there and it comes into towards Wilkesboro. It's called the Upper Yadkin River Valley, and right after the Civil War, Tom Dula came back home, and he started courting a couple of women, and long story short, one of them went missing, and it was Laura Foster. And I got very interested in understanding what the community around there thought of that, and visited some of the sites where all this happened and got people's take on, you know, who killed Laura Foster and what were the circumstances, and most of the people there thought it was a case, or today they say it's a case of two young people who made bad decision, and Laura Foster was later found, and Tom Dula ran from that area into Tennessee and was captured by a man from who come home from the Civil War. This was right after the Civil War, a year or two after, named Grayson. Major Grayson. And that comes out in the song a little bit. But it's Hang Down Your Head, Tom Dula. Up in there is Kenny said that some people say Dooley. I'm going to sing it like when I met the members of the family, they say Dula and Laura Foster are in the song, and Tom Dula was hanged. He was a musician.
So you got a suspended sentence.
He was a fiddle player and a banjo player, and there's a verse in there about that. So we'll try it for you. Tom Dula, hang down your head and cry. Kill poor Laurie Foster, a poor boy who's bound to die. Met her by the roadside, as God Almighty knows. Met her by the roadside, and there you hid her clothes. Took her on the hillside, said to make her your wife. Took her on the hillside and stabbed her with your knife. Hang down your head, Tom Dula, hang down your head and cry. Kill poor Laurie Foster, poor boy, you bound to die. Dug a grave 4 feet wide, dug it 3 feet deep. Pulled the cold clay over her and tromped it with your feet. This time tomorrow, well, where do you reckon I'll be? Hadn't it been for Grayson, boys, I'd been in Tennessee. Hang down your head, Tom Dula, hang down your head and cry. Kill poor Laurie Foster, poor boy, you bound to die.
true stories that had to be told. Tom Dula had two girlfriends at one time, Ann Melton and Lori Foster, and apparently having two lady friends at the same time led to some problems for Ann Melton that apparently came from Lori Foster, and had there been penicillin, we would have no song about Tom Dula. But this is a family show, I don't want to tell that story. But,
Yeah, I was leaving that part out.
yeah, I know that you were. And I probably should have left it out.
Yeah, well, maybe.
We're so glad to be in sunny Florida. Where we live in Virginia, it has rained and rained and rained and rained. In fact, where I live in Danville is flooding right now, in fact. We normally have a rainfall of 42 inches a year. Last year we had 65 inches, and we started off the same way in January and February this year, so we're well on our way once again. So we've been looking forward to a sunny home in Dixie, which is our next tune. continue with our sunshine theme, because we're so upset with all the rain in Virginia. We're going to do one of the old Carter family songs. The Carter family recorded, around 350 songs?
Something like that.
About 350 songs. And Darren knows by heart, I kid you not, he knows by heart, what, 280?
All but about 5 or 6 of them, really.
So about almost
Yeah.
350 he knows, he can recall from memory. I try to trip him up every once in a while and call off an obscure one, and darn it, he won't know it every time. So they're going to do one that continues the sunny and warm theme. It's called Keep on the Sunny Side. And if you know the words to this and want to sing along on the chorus, please feel free to jump in there.
Yeah, I need all the help I can get. So. How many have heard the original Carter Band before? Okay, so y'all will know what I'm doing. Y'all won't think I'm some sort of alien or something.
I think so.
Okay, maybe I am too. My Rolodex is working. Okay. There's a dark and a troubled side of life. There's a bright and sunny side too. So we meet with the darkness and strife. This sunny side we also meet you. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day, it will brighten all the way. It will keep on the sunny side of life. The storm and its fury break today, crushing hopes that we cherish so dear. Clouds and storm pulling time pass away. The sun again will shine bright and clear. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of love. It will help us every day, it will brighten all the way. It will keep on the sunny side of life. Let us greet with a song of hope each day. Though the moments may cloud your fair, let us trust in our Savior always to keep with everyone in His care. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day, it will brighten all the way. It will keep on the sunny side of life.
We'll do another little dance number for you here. Many of these tunes came from the British Isles and are still played over there to this day, but under different names. But we kind of Americanized the tunes and the names. But this is a tune that actually came out of Germany. It dates back to like the 15 or 1600s. It was called a schottisch in Germany, which is a German word for Scottish, as I recall. But over here, because we had a different environment, we didn't call it a schottisch, we called it flop-eared mule. If you think about many rural southern folks who play this kind of music, had a flop-eared mule somewhere on the property they plowed with. So.
If I may say, I've been thinking about that because wondered, from time to time you think about why you play music, and especially this music, which is very non-commercial, and I was thinking about this tune, and one of my very first memories when I was a little child in Georgia was my father took me out to see my grandfather, and I was really small, and he took me out to the pasture, and there was this big mule named red. I remember the day, I remember as a kid looking at it, the head of that mule just seemed huge as a little child. But I recognize that that's really one reason I think I play this music, because it reminds me of people and places that
Mules.
mules, mules, but I was waiting for that. Anyway, it's floppy-eared mule.
We'll do you another tune to dance. Yeah, I'm sorry I missed that.
I'm so glad she danced to that, because, you know, it's a real pleasure to play with Kenny. There's no other banjo player I know that plays in this style. And that actually relates to the next song, and where you gotta get this style, isn't it?
Yeah, my dad's uncles were old-time musicians who made records back in the 1920s. They started in 1925. They recorded a record called Don't Let Your Deal Go Down Blues in 1925. Sold 102,000 copies for Columbia Records, which was a lot of money. And my dad's uncle was a guy named Charlie Poole, and he had married Wilma Rohr, my dad's aunt, and she had a brother named Posey Rohr, who was an old-time fiddler. So the two of them went to New York, uninvited, nobody asked him to come. Charlie Poole couldn't read a stop sign, he was illiterate. But he loved his music, and he wanted to take a chance and see if he could do something with it. So they went to New York on their own. Nobody paid their way. They went up there on their own in the summer of 1925. Charlie, they had to get jobs because they had to support themselves while they were up there. And they worked in some factories there in Passaic, New Jersey. And then one day Charlie took his day off from work and went over into the city. And again, he couldn't read a stop sign, so he had to find his way to the Columbia studios. And he asked for an audition. So they told him to bring the band in, so he brought his brother-in-law and a guitar player named Norman Woodleaf in, and they recorded 4 songs that day, and one was Don't Let Your Deal Go Down, May I Sleep in Your Bar Tonight, Mister, one called The Girl I Left in Sunny Tennessee, it's still around in bluegrass music, and one called I'm the Man That Rode the Mule Around the World. And at that time, a good-selling record for Columbia, a good-selling record was 5,000 copies, a hit record was 20,000. That sold 102,000. The second one they released from that session sold 65,000. So they sold 167,000 records. And for that, the band members were paid $25 a piece. Somebody made money, but it wasn't Charlie Brooks. It was Columbia Records. But anyway, he went on to record tunes like If I Lose, the Stanley Brothers did that later. He recorded one called The White House Blues, and among the people who bought a copy of White House Blues was Charlie Monroe. And Bill Monroe listened to that record. I asked Bill Monroe about that one time, and he said he learned it off the Charlie Poole record that his brother bought, White House Blues. So Charlie had some influence on the evolution of this music. And this is one of his tunes that I especially like. So I'll kick this off here. I met a girl the other day, her name was Lindy Lee. And now my boys, I'm telling you, she sure looked good to me. 'Tis leap year, she said, would you like to wed? But when I found she had 10 kids, this is what I said. Now you ain't talking to me, no you ain't talking to me. I may be crazy and all like that, but I got good sense you see. Now you ain't talking to me, no you ain't talking to me. I like them being with too many kids, you ain't talking to me. I went up to a lady's house to bum a bite to eat. She fed me on some pork and beans and pie all against me. She says, now Bill, I sure did feed you good. Would you step out in my backyard and chop a stack of wood? Now you ain't talking to me, no you ain't talking to me. I may be crazy and all like that, but I got good sense you see. Now you ain't talking to me, no you ain't talking to me. You fed me good, but I can't chop wood, you ain't talking to me. Now me and my wife has ups and downs throughout our married life. She says to me one day, Bill, let's stop this orange stripe. We'll go out on the lake one evening just about dusk. We'll jump and lake and drown ourselves, no one to read for us. Now you ain't talking to me, no you ain't talking to me. I may be crazy and all like that, but I got good sense you see. Now you ain't talking to me, no you ain't talking to me. When your lake goes dry, it's time to die, and you ain't talking to me. We'll do another dance number, so Alice, if you got your dancing shoes on, we'll do another dance number. We'll do one that Posey and Charlie recorded in 1926, the same session where they did White House Blues. It's one called The Flying Cloud. It's a good old-time dance number. Yeah. me so much good to see her do that because I used to play the banjo and watch her mother dance when she was out outside. So that's a neat memory. They're going to do another Carter family number for you. Before they get to that, I was reading an interesting story the other day about a guy who moved into one of the condos down here somewhere, and it was one of these high rises, and he went out on the balcony because he thought it looked like it was going to rain. He walked out on the balcony, he stuck his hand out to see if he could feel any raindrops, and a glass eyeball fell in his hand. Well, he was horrified, and he looked up, and several stories up, he could see a young lady leaning over a balcony. He said, "Is this yours?" And she said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, I'll bring it right up."